Hey friends, I am here with one of my favorites of the creative world. If you think of the Russo brothers and Steven Spielberg and all the other greats, Russ Turman is right up on that Mount Rushmore with them for me when it comes to making productions for churches and other ministry groups. And Russ does video production. He's done some things that we've done at the School of Theology. You might recognize some of his works. If you've ever seen that cool drone footage we have of our campus, that's Russ's drone. And if you remember some of our really great videos, like the Jack P. Lewis video, I remember that one. Russ was responsible for that one.
Yep.
And today we're going to talk about what's going on in churches and the creative arts, because it's a big topic, because our churches are having to meet virtually. And how are we adapting to this new landscape? So I want to bring in and talk to a video professional to give us some tips on what this world looks like from his vantage point, maybe through your lens, Russ. So welcome. Glad you're here.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, man, this is great. I appreciate you having me on here.
HST loves your work. I mean, we did the Jack Lewis HST when he left his money for the endowment. We did that video kind of. You did when we did our digital books project with different people running on the neighborhood. We had drone footage of Park Avenue. That was you.
Man. I love doing stuff with you guys. Y'all have, I'm probably, you guys are the creative part. I just kind of put it together in my own sort of way. So it's a nice teamwork that we have going on.
It's a good teamwork. I'm Bill Cartwright. You're Michael Jordan. So here's how it goes. Because every Russ Turman shoot is basically where a team of us are together shooting something, and we get in our cars to leave. As we walk out to the parking lot, we look at each other and be like, last time the video was great, but we didn't give Russ anything to work with this time. This isn't going to work. 2 weeks later, the video comes back and we look at it and we say, where did this come from? How did he get this video out of that shoot? So you're great. We're just going to go and say that. We'll link to some of your work here, but really what we want to talk to you today is not about the work you do for the School of Theology and some of the great projects you've done, but I want to talk about your work at Highland. What is your actual title at Highland, and talk about a little bit of kind of the basics of what your job description looks like.
So I think I don't know my actual title. Media minister, media coordinator. I think people just know me as the video guy. And so I've always got a camera in my hand, and I'm just running around video and stuff. So, but yeah, man, here at Highland, I have been here for 10 years now, and I have started out just trying to create videos for services, capturing events, doing things like that to kind of help people remember what's going on here. And we're putting stuff out on social media, and it's a real great fit. I mean, I grew up here at Highland. I love this church. We have done all sorts of projects throughout when I've been here, as far as short little stories. We've told so many little stories. I say little, but we've told so many testimonial type stories that has brought the church together. I feel like that's been one of the funnest parts that I do, is getting to know the families and getting to share their stories with everyone.
Oh, you're amazing at this. And even basic things. I mean, like really simple stuff that you guys will do, like our dean, Alan Black, he was celebrating 25 years or something on the ministry staff, and you made this like great video for him, which is kind of like the Russ Turman signature touch. And there's something I can't describe, but I watch a video, I'm like, that's a Russ Turman production.
Wow,
you
thanks.
add an incredible sense of warmth without being heavy.
Thanks. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Like, I mean, I really try to do that. I try not to make it, I try not to bring something that's not there. I just try to enhance what's there, and to kind of bring that to the table, and without trying to pull your emotional strings more than it needs to be. I mean, all the people that work here, when we try to honor people, I mean, I feel like it's a big deal. But I don't want to make it too big a deal, if that makes any sense. I just, we just want to give people the honor they're due, give these events the honor that they're due. We're not trying to make something up that's not actually happening. This is what's happening here, and we just want to share it with people and encourage people while we're doing it. So,
well, you're doing a great job, and some people watching this are gonna be like, yeah, okay, but how does this actually happen? And so what I want to do, let's just start at a week, and I think this will be fun. Let's talk about a week in your world. how do we go from, you know, how creative stuff is, like Sunday, a lot of your stuff will roll out and you might do social media through the rest of the week, but Sunday is kind of a rollout day. Talk about what it looks like, because you got that, okay, that was done, but Sunday's coming. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, let's think about that rollout. What does your workflow look like?
So are you talking about like pre-quarantine or like my work now, like this week now?
Let's start with pre-quarantine, and that'll give a basis for what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, so weekly, we'll record, you know, all of our services on Sunday. I will usually edit that and try to get it on the website by Monday, Tuesday at the latest. Tuesday morning, we try to have the sermon and anything else from the past week online. We usually try to do like a short synopsis of what the sermon was. So we'll do like a minute and a half, what I call a sermon snippet, and we'll put that on social media.
They're good. Yeah, those are good.
Thanks. So we try to do that just to kind of reiterate the main point. Hey, remember what we talked about on Sunday? We hope you're living that this week. And we kind of just want to remind you what the main point was. So we do that. You know, that's Monday and Tuesday. And usually Monday is my off day. So I try to get all that done in between times when I'm off. I still like to edit that before Tuesday, just so Tuesday morning we can kind of get rolling with the rest of the week. We usually have our worship planning meeting Tuesday during the day. It's usually around 1:32, and we just kind of figure out the nuts and bolts for Sunday. And that just means who's participating, what's happening on stage, that kind of thing. But we also talk about the video plans for that week on that day. And so that's when, if we have not pre-scheduled some kind of testimony or something, that's when we start to plan, okay, here's what we need by Sunday, and here's who we're going to ask to tell their story. And then usually Wednesday or Thursday is when I shoot that. Friday is when I edit it. And it's usually ready to go by Friday afternoon for Sunday. So in between all that other time, we're getting ready by doing song lyrics and making sure all the what you see on stage is ready to go.
What software do you use?
So I'm editing with Final Cut Pro. It's about a $300 software from Apple, and I've been using it for probably 8 years. Final Cut 10 or X, I'm not sure what you call it, but I feel like once you learn it, it's super easy and it's super quick. Like you can get things done really fast. I feel like that is almost with any software. Like once you learn how to do it, once you kind of take the time to figure out where the tools are and things, then you can be quick getting things done with it.
So planning is a big part of what you're doing, because you've got that Thursday, Friday where you're actually producing the content. Mm-hmm. And then I would assume you have a calendar of other pieces that you kind of know are coming. So
we do.
You know, so Easter's coming, or, you know.
Yes. Yeah. And to mention like some other things. So, you know, a lot of this is dependent on who can share their story and if the story fits with the lessons and stuff. So we will occasionally do like a quarterly brainstorming. Hey, this is what the sermons are going to be on. This is what the focus is going to be on. These are the stories we might think about telling, and we will try to plan those in advance so that I'm not calling someone at the last minute and saying, hey, Sunday's 3 days away. I want to sit down with you for 2 hours and have some interview. So usually we're trying to plan some of that in advance.
Give us a rundown of also, as you say, okay, I'm shooting a film, I'm editing. Give us a little bit of an equipment rundown. For those of you watching, by the way, we'll kind of embed this in the text boxes below. But Russ, what do you use in equipment-wise?
Okay, so for the past 7 years, I've been shooting almost everything on a Canon 70D, and it was made in 2013. It is I'm 3 generations behind the current what's rolling out now, but they don't even sell. I don't think they sell it anymore. You can find them used, but so I was shooting on a 70D, and I was shooting a second camera on a 60D, which was the one that came out 2 years before it. So I'm using these DSLR style cameras, which if you know anything about the DSLR, they're awesome picture taking cameras, but they do great video. They have that kind of shallow depth of field that a lot of, it gives you that cinematic look. It also just takes your production, it just makes it look way more professional probably than you really are. Like, it makes it look really good. So I've been using those cameras for years. I recently just purchased a Canon EOS-R, which is it's a big step up from the 70D. And it's even about to be, out of there's about to be a new one of those. So, but it's awesome too. So those are the video things I use. Lighting is a huge issue with video, and sound is a big issue.
It's always sound is always the problem.
Sound is, yeah. So one thing I heard way back when, and I've found it to be true, is that cameras come and go. The video technology changes. Invest in audio and invest in lighting up front, because that pretty much is constant. Like it really, microphones haven't changed a whole lot over the spectrum. So we bought some two things. One, we bought a shotgun mic that's really nice. I don't know the part number. I could get that to you later, but it was about $1,000 microphone, and it takes the microphone off the people so that they can just sit down and talk, and I don't have to mic them, put a clip on them. And it's awesome. It's a directional shotgun mic. It's about 3 feet away, and it picks up great, and it isolates the other, the background noise so that you can't hear it. Our video room is right next to our day school, so it's right next to our children area. So there are children running around on Wednesday night even. So when we shoot a lot of things on Wednesday nights, even Sunday mornings during class time, there are kids up and down that hall. It does a great job of isolating that noise. So I'm really happy with that. I'll get you that part number. And then I use a Sennheiser wireless pack when we go out and do stuff like outside, and it's a wireless transmitter. It's got a body pack, goes on you. The other one feeds into the camera. I've had it for, golly, probably 10 or 11 years. I bought it before I started working here, and I've used it for that long, and it's awesome. It sounds so good. Chris Altruck and I did a video one time where we were standing at an intersection, trucks, cars, everything going around, and people asked me if I dubbed over the audio because it sounded so clear and good, and you couldn't even hear the car noise. I was like, and those are the kinds of things, like if you just try to do that on your phone, that video is going to be unwatchable.
No, I go back and forth on this. So like, okay, during quarantine, obviously all of us are just pulling up our phones all the time and recording ourselves, and it's totally understood.
Yep.
That quality is not terribly important right now because you're in social distancing and quarantine, and we're in the middle of a pandemic.
That's right.
That said, if you go back before like March of 2020, a lot of us are sitting here having this conversation, and I think the conversation is it better to have nothing than to have something that's done poorly? And I go back and forth on this. What do you think?
Well, it depends on, that's a good question. It depends on who your audience is and what your expectations are. And there are some videos that sound terrible out there that, I guess because the whole, like, I'm thinking social media stuff, like social media, that stuff is just kind of what it is. But if you're sitting down and trying to watch something on YouTube and the audio is bad, you're probably going to leave that pretty quick.
Well, it's a small, but even then, like, phone is a small screen. So if there's awful lighting, you can kind of tolerate it because your expectations are low. You blow that thing up in front of a church.
That's right. Yeah.
I go back and forth here. And then like when we do things in church that people can't hear. So I think it's a really tough issue for quality. But right now with quarantine, everyone's just throwing everything up. And,
that's right.
And you have probably changed your workflows. I don't know if you changed your standards, but right now you aren't able to have the same rhythm you talked to us about. So kind of what does life look like for you right now?
Yeah. So right now, we're pre-recording everything we do. We're not doing anything live. So, and we're trying to shoot things in batches. So we've done multiple sermons on the same day. Eric will go change clothes, come back to make it look like it's a different.
He's preaching multiple sermons in the same day?
He'll do that in the same day.
Oh, he's amazing.
It's amazing.
He's incredible.
Yes, it is.
I'm lucky to figure out my one sermon for a day. I have no
Well,
capacity to figure out two of them.
And, you know, you would think that he would struggle with like having to retake things, start over, stop. No, he just,
He doesn't need it.
he doesn't do
One
that. He
take.
just rolls. There's no retakes. I mean, maybe a handful of retakes. We have a few outtakes. I'm working on an outtake reel, but that'll be post quarantine. That'll be post quarantine. We don't have time for that now. So I'm sorry, what were we talking about?
Eric is a better preacher than me. I don't know.
No.
That you're doing batches of things, which is interesting to me. And
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that, but I mean, it's almost like you're recording Wheel of Fortune or something where they do like 5 in a day and ask
That's
Pat
right.
and Vanna to find new wardrobe. And so you are, that's a great reference there for all of you who are over 76 years old. I don't know why I just said this, but so there's kind of an economy of how you're doing things so you have a Bretian and a praise team.
Yes.
And you're doing batches, which I think is probably really helpful for your music ministry.
Yes, it is, and it's keeping our the involvement down. We'll get the same group, do a couple weeks with them. We're only in the building for just a few minutes with each other, and maybe an hour or so, hour and a half, and we get a few weeks done at a time. So that's been good, which is also helpful. So those are the main two key components that we're going to have some worship time with singing, and then we're going to have a sermon. And so then the rest of the week we're brainstorming and coming up with different ideas of how to involve different people, because we feel like it's super important for us to see each other during the week and not just see the same people over and over again. So we've done a couple different projects, which have been awesome, but they've been time consuming because I'm totally reliant on people sending me stuff. And then, there's been the occasion where, hey, could you retake that because the lighting was bad or the sound didn't come through or the quality wasn't great. And so I'm not doing a whole lot of that because I'm taking whatever anybody's giving me. Like, I'm so thankful to anyone who is putting a phone in front of them and recording something. I'm like, you people are awesome. And so I even tried to do that one week with my own family, and it took us 45 minutes to do, one line. So
I don't know if you saw our video we did last week. Clay Fowler sat down with us for kind of this spot we're doing here. And Clay is doing this thing at White Station Church where he's like, everything that goes into production eventually has to go through Clay to get in the program. And it's like, there is this pipe, where it's like every single project you want to do, every editing piece has to go through him.
Yeah.
You're that guy, I think.
Yeah.
So we have all these ideas out there, whereas in church, someone wants to get up and say something, no big deal. Well, right now, if someone wants to say something, it means that's a piece of video that goes into your production, which really makes it really interesting.
Right. And we've got three services that don't look alike. And, and we want to try to represent those three services. So that's been a challenge. We've tried to involve the kids in some way. We've not done a great job involving teenagers yet, but we have had some teens participate in some different things. And so we want to try to hit all these groups and show some involvement by each group. And so we're going to continue to try to do that, which has been helpful by doing the recordings early, because then I can focus on those projects, because those projects take a little bit more time, editing those videos, grabbing those videos, getting them into the right spot. So that's been part of the challenge, but that's been a good part of the service. That's one of the most meaningful parts of the services is when we have all the kids singing, He's Got the Whole World in His Hands, right, and we're bouncing from child to child. And, it's just been awesome for parents to get your kids involved and then for other people to share what the cross meant to them and what resurrection meant to them. And those are the little, and we're planning these things on Monday or Tuesday, and we're relying on people to send that stuff to me by Thursday. So it's all social media driven. There's been a few times where, we'll think, oh, we might not have a lot of people, so we're going to get on the phone call and text a few certain people. Hey man, I know you could speak to this. Would you mind sharing something? And people will do that too.
Some of you can hear that I keep having this beeping sound coming. These are my text messages coming across my screen, and the people texting me are people who are doing different activities in our Sunday video program asking me about equipment and their phone and how long should it be.
That's
I do
awesome.
a very small piece of this, Russ. You do this all
Yes.
day long. So
Yes.
it is, in some ways your job is technology, but in a lot of ways your job is communications, where you're just constantly communicating with people, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And we have a guy on staff who's our social media guy. Like he's the one who does that. So me and him are constantly talking and constantly communicating and that kind of thing. And so he relays a lot of messages for me, and he does a great job. And anyway, I've got some help over here.
Where are we headed after this? It's interesting. It's like, okay, so you're doing a thing where a lot of your output was Sunday driven. You might have done a few spots through the week, but a lot of like what you were producing, I think, was at least shown live for the first time on Sundays, right?
That's right. Yeah.
We go to this. We're doing virtual church and all of this, working from home, producing things. We're thinking differently. When we come back, when we re-enter and find our new normal or half sense of normalcy, how does your job change? Kind of like, what do you think post May 2020 media ministry, video production? How does that look in churches? Are there going to be changes, or kind of what do you think, not just for you, but for kind of this enterprise?
Yeah. So, for us, we have been encouraged with the involvement that we've seen on our online service. We feel like even post when people can come back together, we know that one, there's like in the short term, there's going to be some people that just won't. They're gonna take the safe approach, and they're going to come back when the all clear is given. And there are some people that are probably rushing to get back. Like if we open the doors tomorrow, they'd be here. But
I think there's like some husbands who have never come to church, and like they've got this like the best excuse ever for the rest of their marriage or whatever.
That's right.
I just don't wait until it's safe. You let me know when it's safe. All clear.
That's right. That's right. So we are planning on continuing to do our have an online presence past, in the future, indefinitely. So hopefully we can, and I'm in the process of trying to see what that looks like. I mean, I want it to resemble what we're doing now. I mean, I like the look of what we're doing. I like the quality of what we're doing. And I like the involvement. I like, I mentioned our social media guy. He is online every Sunday responding to people and checking on people and asking for prayer requests and stuff. And man, that has been so encouraging to watch those comments and to see people respond in that way. And so I'm hoping that we can continue that and continue to reach out to people who may not want to come or may just can't come. I'm thinking of maybe elderly people who have not been able to get out, and then all of a sudden, hey, we've got online church for you. And that might've been a real blessing during this quarantine for them.
Yeah. I think I look at this right now and just think in terms of how we push out content. You're really good at this, but we have people are listening to podcasts, watching Netflix, reading everything online Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And I kind of wonder where churches are in all of that, if we're just depending on these big live events on Sundays. And so having vignettes and shorts and clips to push out like you are and give people content the rest of the week just makes, to me, really good sense. And I think about like the thing you said about taking a minute of the preacher's sermon and kind of refreshing it on Monday or Tuesday. It even seems like if you were to say like how effective is a sermon, well, if somebody watched a 90-second snippet of a 30-minute sermon but they did that 4 consecutive days, that sermon would be way more effective than, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And let me just say this. Okay. So I'm recording the sermon once, then I'm going through and editing the sermon a second time. Then I'm going through and putting in the slides to where the things, and then I'm watching it again on Sunday, usually live when I'm push play, and then my family's sleeping during early service. So we get up and I've watched the sermon 5 times by the time it's all over. And so it's been really good for me. Like
Right.
to hear a message, 5 times. If I could challenge someone to listen to a message 5 times,
The preacher doesn't have to hear it once. You get to hear it 5 times.
that's
This is really
right.
interesting.
That's right. But I'll tell you what, it does encourage, and you start to remember things, and it does help. So, it's one of those, repetitive things where, and it's been good for me. That's one thing that I do enjoy.
So if all the ministers out there, if there's somebody in your church that you think really needs to hear the message, ask them to do video work. And that's
right.
how to really let it sink in.
That's right.
You're doing a great job, man. I'm really inspired by what you're doing, and you do incredible work. And you're not just a great media guy, you're a great minister. And so we really love having you in Memphis. We love the work you've done for the school, and keep up the good work.
Man, I appreciate it. And I love what HST is doing. They're equipping people to minister to people. And I've been nothing but impressed every time I go over there, and the staff is top notch over there. I love you and Jim and Alan, and y'all are doing great stuff. And I appreciate you guys.
All right. Take care, Russ.